The stars bent and twisted as 300 warships tore through the fabric of space itself. The Valorian Imperial Armada had arrived at the edge of a small yellow star system. Inside the command ship, Fleet Admiral Krathok stood before a wall of glowing screens. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he watched the primitive planet called Earth grow larger on the display. "Scan complete, Admiral," said his second officer, a young Valorian named Teklon. "We count 40 vessels in defensive positions. Their technology appears outdated by at least 2 centuries according to our standards." Krathok's mandibles clicked together in what passed for a smile among his species. In his 300 years of service to the Galactic Dominion, he had conquered 847 worlds. Not once had he faced defeat. This mission would be the easiest yet. The humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. They were infants playing with toys they barely understood. "Open a channel to the planet," Krathok commanded. "All frequencies." The communications officer worked quickly. Within seconds, a holographic display showed that every radio, television, and computer on Earth was now receiving their transmission. Krathok straightened his armored body and began to speak. "Humans of Earth, I am Fleet Admiral Krathok of the Valorian Imperial Armada. You now stand before the might of the Galactic Dominion. For 10,000 years we have brought order to the chaos of this galaxy. 847 worlds have joined our empire. You are surrounded and outmatched. I offer you one chance to surrender unconditionally. Refuse, and your species will be erased from existence. You have 1 standard hour to respond." The transmission ended. Krathok returned to his command chair and waited. He expected panic. He expected desperate pleas for mercy. He had seen it countless times before. The pattern never changed. On Earth, emergency sirens wailed across every continent. In Geneva, the United Earth Council gathered in their underground command center. President Sarah Martinez looked around the table at the faces of generals, scientists, and world leaders. No one looked surprised. No one looked afraid. "Well," she said calmly, "they're finally here." General Marcus Chen, head of the United Earth Defense Force, leaned back in his chair. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold, calculating eyes. 50 years, he said. "We've been preparing for this exact moment for 50 years. Are our people in position?" asked President Martinez. "Every asset is ready," Chen confirmed. "Guardian platforms are armed. The lunar installation is operational. Mars shipyards are on standby. Our fleet knows what to do." Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the command center of Guardian 7, one of Earth's 12 orbital defense platforms. Through the transparent steel windows, she could see the stars and the distant specks that were the Valorian fleet. Her crew worked quietly at their stations. There was no panic here either. "Only calm focus, Captain. We're receiving the alien ultimatum," said her communications officer. "I heard it," Elena replied. She was a compact woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her brown eyes never left the enemy fleet on her displays. "Send the standard response, ma'am." "Are you sure?" "Send it." Across all frequencies, Earth's response went out to the Valorian fleet. It was simple and brief. "We acknowledge your message. You may proceed with your invasion." On the Valorian command ship, Teklon turned to his admiral with confusion written across his features. "Sir, they're not surrendering. They're inviting us to attack." Krathok felt a small twist of uncertainty in his chest. In all his conquests, no species had responded with such confidence. He pushed the feeling aside. Confidence meant nothing against superior firepower. "Tactical analysis," he ordered. "Their 40 ships are positioned in 3 defensive rings around the planet," reported the tactical officer. "Initial scans show fusion reactors and primitive plasma weapons. Their shields appear to be standard electromagnetic barriers, nothing that can withstand our firepower." "What about their orbital platforms?" 12 stations evenly spaced around the planet. "They appear to be weapons platforms, but our sensors are having difficulty getting detailed readings." "There's some kind of interference." Krathok dismissed this with a wave. "Jamming technology. Nothing we haven't seen before. Order the Vanguard to advance. 50 ships. Destroy their outer defense ring and the platforms. Make it quick." "Yes, Admiral." The Valorian Vanguard moved forward like a school of metal fish. Their hulls gleamed in the light of Earth's sun. Weapon ports opened. Energy began to build in their massive plasma cannons. On Guardian 7, Elena watched the enemy ships approach. Her hand rested on a red switch protected by a clear cover. "Distance?" she asked. 200,000 kilometers in closing," replied her tactical officer. "Power levels?" All platforms reading full charge. Fleet vessels confirm ready status. Elena felt her heartbeat slow. She had trained for this moment since she was 18 years old. Every simulation, every drill, every lesson had led to this. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, safe in the bunkers below Rio de Janeiro. She thought about the billions of people, depending on her and the others like her. 100,000 kilometers, called out the tactical officer. The Valorian vanguard was close enough now to see clearly. 50 enormous warships, each one larger than anything Earth had built, each one capable of destroying a city with a single shot. Elena flipped up the clear cover over the red switch. 50,000 kilometers. They're charging weapons, Captain. Hold, Elena said quietly. They're targeting us. Weapons lock detected. Hold. The Valorian ships fired. 50 streams of superheated plasma erupted from their cannons, screaming through space toward Earth's platforms and ships. On the Valorian command ship, Krathox leaned forward in anticipation. This was always his favorite moment. The moment when the enemy realized they had lost, but something was wrong. The plasma bolt struck Guardian 7 and simply stopped. They didn't explode. They didn't penetrate. They hit an invisible barrier and dispersed like water hitting stone. All around Earth, the same thing happened. Not a single shot reached its target. What? Krathox stood abruptly. What's happening? Sir, their shields are holding. Our weapons aren't penetrating. That's impossible. Full power! All Vanguard ships, full power! The Valorian ships fired again and again. Plasma bolts hammered against Earth's defenses, but nothing got through. On her platform, Elena watched the enemy waste their ammunition. She counted to 10 slowly. Then she pressed the red switch. All platforms, she said into her communicator. Fire! 12 invisible beams lanced out from Earth's orbital platforms. They weren't lasers or plasma. They were focused gravitational waves, technology the Valorians had never seen before. The beams struck the Valorian ships and their shields collapsed instantly. Before the enemy could react, Earth's fleet opened fire. The humans didn't use energy weapons. They used something much simpler and far more devastating. Railguns, massive electromagnetic accelerators that fired tungsten rods the size of telephone poles at 5% the speed of light. The rods hit the Valorian ships like the fist of an angry god. Armor that had withstood plasma fire for 10,000 years crumpled like paper. Ships exploded. Hulls tore apart. Atmosphere vented into space in great frozen clouds. In 90 seconds, 30 Valorian ships were destroyed. The remaining 20 tried desperately to retreat. Don't let them escape, Elena commanded. Activate the gravity wells. Hidden on asteroids throughout the inner solar system, generators came online. They created artificial gravity fields that trapped the fleeing Valorian ships like insects in amber. The enemy vessels struggled against invisible chains. On the Valorian command ship, Krathox stared at his screens in horror. His vanguard was being slaughtered. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds were dying like animals in a trap, and the humans hadn't lost a single vessel. How? He whispered. How is this possible? His tactical officer's voice shook. Admiral, we're detecting multiple human fighter craft launching from their larger ships. Small vessels, extremely fast. Shoot them down. But the human fighters moved like nothing the Valorians had ever encountered. They twisted and turned through space with impossible agility. Their weapons locked onto targets before Valorian gunners could even track them. More ships exploded. Krathox watched his fleet dying and felt something he had not experienced in 300 years. He felt fear. All ships, he commanded, his voice hollow. Retreat to Rally Point Beta, now. But as the Valorian fleet tried to pull back, they discovered that Earth's defenses extended far beyond the planet itself. Gravity wells activated throughout the solar system. Human ships appeared from behind the moon, from Mars' orbit, from the asteroid belt. They had been waiting, planning, preparing, and now the trap was closing. The wreckage of 30 Valorian warships drifted through space like broken toys. Inside what remained of the cruiser Daxthorn, emergency lights flickered red. Commander Velkus pulled himself through the twisted corridor, his breathing apparatus damaged and leaking. Around him, his crew lay dead or dying. He had served in the Imperial fleet for 70 years. He had seen battles. He had seen defeats on distant worlds, but he had never seen anything like this. This was supposed to be easy. He coughed, tasting blood. They were primitives. On Guardian 7, Captain Elena Vasquez studied the tactical display with sharp eyes. The main Valorian fleet had pulled back to a position just beyond Mars' orbit. They were regrouping. Good. That meant they were scared. Scared enemies made mistakes. Status report, she commanded. Her tactical officer read from his screen. All 12 platforms operational. 0 damage. Fleet reports 2 ships with minor shield stress but nothing serious. No casualties. And the enemy? 50 Valorian ships engaged. 30 destroyed. 20 disabled and caught in our gravity wells. Their main fleet is holding position at 400,000 kilometers from Mars. Elena nodded. The battle had gone exactly as planned. 50 years of preparation were paying off. She opened a channel to Earth Command. Guardian 7 to command. First engagement successful. Awaiting orders for Phase 2. General Marcus Chen's face appeared on her screen. Behind him, she could see the busy command center beneath Geneva. Excellent work, Captain. Begin recovery operations on the disabled vessels. We need prisoners and intelligence. Understood, sir. What about the main fleet? They're trying to figure out what just happened, Chen said with a slight smile. Let them think. Fear is a weapon, too. Chen out, the channel closed. Elena turned to her crew. Deploy recovery teams. I want Marines on those damaged ships within 20 minutes. Full hazard gear. We don't know what kind of surprises they might have. Aboard the Valorian flagship, Admiral Krathox paced back and forth like a caged predator. His officers sat silent at their stations, afraid to speak. The screens showed the disaster clearly. 30 ships lost, 20 more captured, and they still didn't understand how. Explain it to me, Krathox demanded. Their shields should not have held. Our weapons have cracked planetary fortresses. How did primitive electromagnetic barriers stop us? His chief scientist, an old Valorian named Sorthax, studied the sensor data with growing confusion. Admiral, they weren't using electromagnetic shields. Our sensors detected gravitational distortions at the moment of impact. Gravitational shields. That's theoretically impossible. The energy requirements alone would be beyond our capabilities, yes, Sorthax interrupted carefully, but apparently not beyond theirs. And those projectiles they fired weren't plasma or lasers. They were solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Krathox felt his blood run cold. Kinetic weapons? They're using kinetic weapons. Enhanced versions, yes. Sir, I must point out something disturbing. The humans didn't use any technology we don't understand. Railguns are old technology. Gravitational manipulation is theoretical but not unknown. What they did was combine these things in ways we never considered. They studied our weaknesses and built weapons specifically to exploit them. The Admiral's mandibles clicked nervously. They knew we were coming. Sir, I believe they've known for a very long time. Krathox turned to his communications officer. Send a priority message to the Dominion Council. Tell them we need reinforcements. Tell them the humans are not what they appear to be. Yes, Admiral. What about the captured ships? Write them off. We can't risk more vessels trying to rescue them. But it was too late for Commander Velkas and his crew. Human Marines in black armor appeared in his broken ship like ghosts. They moved through the corridors in perfect formation, weapons ready. Velkas tried to raise his sidearm, but one of the humans was faster. A stun bolt hit him and everything went dark. When he woke, he was in a white room lying on a medical bed. His wounds had been treated. The pain in his chest was gone. He sat up quickly and immediately regretted it. Dizziness washed over him. Easy, said a voice in perfect Valorian. You had 3 broken ribs and a punctured lung. Our doctors fixed you up, but you need to rest. Velkas turned to see a human woman standing nearby. She wore a military uniform with captain's insignia. Her face was calm and professional. You speak my language, Velkas said stupidly. We've been studying your people for 50 years, Captain Maria Santos replied. We speak 87 Valorian dialects. We know your weapons. We know your tactics. We know how you think. She pulled up a chair and sat down. The question is, do you know anything about us? You're primitives, barely capable of spaceflight. That's what we wanted you to believe. Santos pulled out a data pad and showed him images. 30 years ago, we found one of your scout ships. It had crashed on a moon in our outer system. Everyone aboard was dead, but the ship's computers were intact. We learned everything. Your history. Your conquests. Your weapons. Your arrogance. Velkas stared at the images. He recognized the ship. The Karthos, lost on a mapping mission decades ago. They had assumed it hit an asteroid. We realized something important, Santos continued. You Valorians broadcast every victory across the galaxy. You want everyone to know how powerful you are, how invincible. But you know what you really did? You gave us the instruction manual on how to beat you. That's impossible. No one has ever defeated the Dominion in open battle. Because every species you fought tried to match your strength, Santos said. They built bigger plasma cannons, stronger shields. They played your game. We didn't. We watched you destroy 847 civilizations, and we learned from every single one of their mistakes. Velkas felt something crack inside him. Pride, perhaps, or certainty. What happens to me now? To my crew? That depends. The Dominion doesn't take prisoners, does it? You slaughter or enslave. Yes. We're not you, Santos said simply. Your wounded are receiving medical care. Your dead will be returned to your people with honor. The survivors will be held as prisoners of war and treated according to the Galactic Convention on Armed Conflict. The what? A document your empire never bothered to sign because you've never had prisoners before. Santos stood up. Get some rest, Commander. You're going to be our guest for a while. She left, and Velkas lay back on the medical bed staring at the ceiling. His whole worldview was crumbling. The humans were supposed to be easy prey, but they had turned the hunters into the hunted. Back in space, the standoff continued. The Valorian fleet held position, unsure what to do. They had come to conquer but found themselves outmatched. Admiral Krathox knew he should retreat. Every military instinct told him to run, but pride and duty kept him frozen. Admiral, said Teclon quietly, we've lost contact with our Vanguard crews. The humans have taken them. I know. What are our orders? Krathox thought about the 300 ships under his command. 300 ships that suddenly didn't seem like enough. He thought about the message traveling back to the Dominion homeworld at faster-than-light speeds. Help was coming, but it would take months to arrive. We hold position, he finally said. We assess their capabilities, and we wait for reinforcements. Sir, the humans are launching more fighters. On the screens, hundreds of small craft poured out of Earth's vessels like angry insects from a nest. They formed up into precise formations and began moving toward the Valorian lines. Battle stations, Krathox ordered. If they want to fight, we'll show them the true power of the Imperial fleet. But in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered doubts. The humans had destroyed 30 ships in 90 seconds. They had captured 20 more without losing a single vessel. They spoke Valorian languages and knew Imperial tactics. They had prepared for this war while pretending to be weak. And if they could do all that, what other surprises were waiting? On Guardian 7, Elena watched the Valorian fleet prepare for battle. She saw their weapons charging, their ships moving into defensive formations. They were following standard Imperial doctrine exactly as the intelligence predicted. Send a message to their flagship, she ordered. Open channel. Channel open, Captain. Elena spoke clearly and calmly. Admiral Krathox of the Valorian Imperial Fleet. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Force. You have lost 30 ships and gained nothing. You are surrounded by forces you do not understand. I offer you one chance to withdraw from this system peacefully. Refuse, and we will destroy your entire fleet. You have 10 minutes to decide. She closed the channel and waited. Behind her, her crew worked in silence. They all knew what was coming. The Valorians were too proud to retreat. They would fight, and Earth was ready to teach them the cost of that pride. Admiral Krathox stared at the human captain's face frozen on his display screen. 10 minutes to surrender. The insult burned worse than plasma fire. In 300 years of service, no one had ever dared make such a demand of him. He was Valorian. He was Imperial fleet. He did not surrender. Battle Formation Delta, he commanded. Bring all ships to full combat readiness. Prepare the planet breaker weapon. His officers exchanged worried glances. The planet breaker was a weapon of last resort. It had cracked 200 worlds open like eggs. Once fired, nothing could stop it. But using it now seemed like madness. They hadn't even tried a full assault yet. Teclon spoke carefully. Admiral, perhaps we should consider their offer. We could withdraw, wait for reinforcements, and return with overwhelming force. No. Krathox's voice was ice. We withdraw, and every species in the Dominion sees that humans made us run. Our reputation is built on invincibility. We show weakness now, and the Empire crumbles. We end this here. Yes, Admiral. The Valorian fleet moved into attack formation. 250 ships arranged themselves in a massive sphere, with the flagship at the center. They looked magnificent and terrifying. For 10,000 years, this formation had been unstoppable. On Earth, General Chen watched the enemy fleet reorganize. He sat in the underground command center surrounded by screens and officers. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt the weight of billions of lives. This was the moment. Everything hinged on the next few hours. "They're preparing their planet breaker," reported his tactical officer. "Energy readings are off the scale." "Let them," Chen said calmly. "Is the lunar installation ready?" "Luna base reports full operational status, sir. They're just waiting for your order." Chen turned to the communication station. "Open a channel to Luna base. Authorization code Chen 77 Alpha. Channel open, General. This is Chen. Execute protocol midnight." "I repeat, execute protocol midnight." On the far side of Earth's moon, massive engines came to life. They had been built in secret over 30 years, buried deep in the lunar rock where no sensor could detect them. The moon, Earth's constant companion for billions of years, began to move. Aboard the Valorian flagship, alarms suddenly screamed. Sorthax, the chief scientist, stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Admiral, the moon! The human moon is moving." "What?" "It's under power, sir. It's not a natural satellite anymore." "It's a ship!" Krathox watched his screens as the impossible unfolded before him. Earth's moon was accelerating toward his fleet, and as it moved, sections of its surface split open. Weapons emerged. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. The entire moon was a fortress. "Fire the planet breaker," Krathox shouted.
"Fire it now!"
Deep in the Valorian flagship, ancient technology came online. The planet breaker drew power from the ship's core reactor, and from 10 other ships connected to it. Energy levels climbed higher and higher. A purple glow built at the front of the flagship as space itself began to tear. "Planet breaker at 90%, reported the weapons officer. 95%. 100% firing. A beam of pure destruction erupted from the Valorian flagship. It tore through space toward Earth, a weapon that had destroyed 200 civilizations. Nothing could stop it. Nothing had ever stopped it, but humans didn't try to stop it. They redirected it. Just as the planet breaker reached Earth's orbital platforms, a gravitational field activated. Not a shield, a lens. The beam hit the field and bent. It curved back on itself like water flowing around a stone, and then it struck directly into the center of the Valorian fleet formation. The explosion was visible from Mars. 100 Valorian ships vanished in a flash of purple fire. The shockwave threw dozens more off course. The planet breaker, the Dominion's ultimate weapon, had just destroyed a third of Krathox's own fleet. The Admiral fell to his knees. Around him, his bridge crew stared in horror. In 1 second, they had gone from being conquerors to being slaughtered. "All ships," Krathox whispered. Then louder. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Scatter formation." But it was too late. The lunar fortress was among them now. Its weapons opened fire. These weren't railguns or plasma cannons. They were focused particle beams that cut through Valorian armor like a hot knife through ice. Ships exploded. Hulls split open. Escape pods launched in all directions as crews abandoned their dying vessels. "Human fighters incoming," someone shouted. The small, agile craft swarmed over the Valorian fleet like piranha. They were so fast that Valorian gunners couldn't track them. They used some kind of advanced targeting that locked onto weak points in the ship armor. Every shot counted. Every missile hit home, and then the boarding began. Captain Elena Vasquez led the first wave. She stood in the teleportation chamber of Guardian 7, wearing black combat armor. Around her, 20 Marines checked their weapons. They had trained for this, practiced it thousands of times. But practice was different from reality. "Target is the Valorian cruiser Thexmar," she told her team. "Intelligence says it's their communications hub. We take it, we blind half their fleet. Remember your training. They're bigger and stronger than us, but we're faster and smarter. Stay together. Watch each other's backs." "Yes, Captain," they responded in unison. Elena stepped onto the teleportation pad. The world dissolved into light and sound. When it reformed, she was standing in a Valorian corridor. The air smelled wrong. The gravity was heavier. Alarms blared all around them. "Move," she commanded. They ran through the ship in perfect formation. Valorian soldiers appeared, firing plasma weapons. The humans' armor absorbed the hits easily. Earth's engineers had specifically designed it to counter Valorian weapons. The Marines returned fire with precision. Stun bolts dropped the enemy soldiers without killing them. "Bridge ahead," called out Lieutenant Park, checking his tactical display. 30 meters. They rounded a corner and came face to face with 10 Valorian guards in full combat armor. For a moment, both sides froze. Then everyone fired at once. The corridor became a storm of energy bolts and explosions. Elena felt plasma rounds hit her armor. The temperature inside her suit spiked dangerously. She dove behind a support beam and came up firing. Her shots took down 2 guards. Park and his team flanked from the side, catching 3 more in crossfire. But 1 Valorian got through. He was enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in heavy armor. He charged straight at Elena, swinging a powered blade that could cut through steel. Elena dropped her rifle and drew her combat knife. The Valorian's blade came down. She rolled aside at the last second, feeling it miss her by centimeters. The Valorian was strong, incredibly strong. But Elena had trained in Earth's gravity, heavier than most worlds. Her muscles were denser, her reflexes sharper. As the Valorian swung again, she ducked under his arm and drove her knife into a joint in his armor. The blade went deep. The Valorian roared and backhanded her across the corridor. Elena hit the wall hard enough to crack her helmet display. Through blurred vision, she saw the Valorian coming at her again. Then Park was there, hitting the alien with a full-power stun bolt at point-blank range. The Valorian went down like a falling tree. "Captain, you okay?" Park asked, helping her up. "I'll live." "Bridge. Now." They blasted through the bridge door. Inside, Valorian officers scrambled for weapons. Elena's team was faster. Stun bolts filled the air. In seconds, every Valorian was unconscious on the floor. "Secure the communication systems," Elena ordered. "Park, download everything. I want their fleet codes, their orders, everything." "On it, Captain." While her team worked, Elena walked to the bridge windows and looked out at the battle. Valorian ships were dying all around her. Some were burning. Some were breaking apart. Some were trying desperately to flee but kept hitting the gravity wells that trapped them. She opened a channel to her own ship. "Guardian 7, this is Vasquez. Cruiser Thexmar is secure. Downloading their communications database now." "Copy that, Captain. Be advised, the Admiral wants that ship intact. Can you fly it?" Elena looked at the Valorian control systems. Her team had studied them for years. "Yeah, we can fly it. Tell the Admiral he's about to get a present." Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human Marines appeared inside Valorian ships using teleportation technology. They moved fast and hit hard. The Valorians had never faced boarding actions before. They didn't know how to respond. Their ships were designed for space combat, not for fighting enemies who appeared inside their hulls. Admiral Krathox watched his fleet die around him. More than half his ships were gone now, some destroyed, some captured, some fleeing into deep space. The humans had turned his invasion into a massacre. "Admiral," said Sorthax quietly, "we have to withdraw. If we stay, they'll destroy us all." Krathox wanted to argue, wanted to keep fighting. But he was a military commander, not a fool. He knew when a battle was lost. "All ships," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Retreat. Jump to rally point Gamma. Emergency jump. Don't wait for formation." One by one, the surviving Valorian ships activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished. They left behind wreckage and captured vessels and the bodies of thousands of their dead. The mighty Imperial fleet, undefeated for 10,000 years, had been broken by a species they thought were primitives. The Galactic Dominion's capital world of Valor Prime lay 800 light-years from Earth. In the Grand Council chamber, 12 species leaders sat in a circle of floating platforms. At the center, Supreme Chancellor Vexthor watched the holographic display with growing horror. The footage showed Valorian ships exploding. It showed the human moon moving under its own power. It showed the planet breaker weapon being redirected back into the Imperial fleet. The Supreme Chancellor's hands trembled as he paused the recording. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked quietly. Admiral Krathox stood below the council platforms. His armor was scorched and dented. His pride was shattered. 187 destroyed, Supreme Chancellor. 43 captured. The remaining 70 ships escaped to Rally Point Gamma. "Out of 300, Vexthor said. "We sent 300 ships to conquer a primitive world and fewer than 70 returned." "The humans were not primitive," Krathox replied. "They deceived us, made us think they were weak. But they had been preparing for our arrival for decades." A council member from the reptilian skrill species hissed angrily. "Impossible. Our intelligence said they only achieved faster-than-light capability 50 years ago. How could they prepare? They found one of our scout ships, Krathox explained. Crashed on one of their outer moons 30 years ago. They learned everything from its computers. Our language, our tactics, our weapons. Then they spent 3 decades building specific counters to everything we had. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others called for investigation. A few, very few, suggested negotiation. But one voice cut through the chaos. They broadcast the battle, said Councillor Thane, a crystalline being from the luminary species. The humans captured our communication frequencies and sent the footage of our defeat across the entire Dominion. Silence fell. Everyone understood what that meant. For 10,000 years, the Dominion had maintained control through fear, through the certainty that the Imperial fleet was unbeatable. Now 847 subjugated worlds had watched that fleet burn. How many uprisings? Vexthor asked his intelligence officer. 15 worlds have declared independence in the last 6 hours, Supreme Chancellor. 20 more are showing signs of unrest. Our garrison forces are spread thin. Vexthor closed his 4 eyes. The Empire was cracking. One battle, one defeat, and everything was falling apart. We need to show strength, he declared. Immediately. Admiral Krathox, how long to assemble another fleet? To match what we sent to Earth? 6 months, Supreme Chancellor. But I must advise caution. The humans' technology is more advanced than ours in several key areas. Sending more ships without understanding their capabilities would be 6 months then, Vexthor interrupted. Assemble 500 ships. No, 1,000. We will crush Earth and broadcast that victory across the galaxy. We will show everyone what happens to those who defy the Dominion. Yes, Supreme Chancellor. But as Krathox left the chamber, he felt doubt gnawing at his mind. The humans had destroyed his fleet effortlessly. What made the Council think more ships would make a difference? On Earth, President Sarah Martinez stood in the United Earth Assembly building, looking out at representatives from every nation. The battle had been won, but now came the hard part. Deciding what to do next. The question before us, she said, is simple. Do we fortify and wait for the next attack, or do we take the fight to them? General Chen stood at her side. Madam President, we captured 43 Valorian vessels intact. Our engineers have been studying them. The technology is sophisticated but not superior to ours. We can upgrade our fleet using their designs. In 6 months, we could have 200 new warships. And what about the subjugated worlds? Asked Ambassador Wei from the Chinese delegation. We've received 27 covert transmissions from species under Dominion control. They're asking for help. Some are offering intelligence. Others want to join an alliance against the Valorians. We're not conquerors, said Representative Jackson from the North American Union. We fought to defend ourselves, not to build an empire. But we can't ignore those calling for help either, argued Representative Okonkwo from the African Federation. The Dominion has enslaved billions. If we have the power to free them, don't we have a responsibility? The debate raged for hours. Some wanted to hunker down and strengthen Earth's defenses. Others argued for aggressive expansion. A few suggested trying to negotiate with the Dominion. Elena Vasquez, newly promoted to admiral, listened from her seat in the military section. Finally, President Martinez raised her hand for silence. We will do both. General Chen, begin construction of new warships immediately. Admiral Vasquez, you will take a diplomatic fleet to the nearby Talax system. The Talaxians have contacted us requesting protection from Dominion reprisals. We will offer them alliance, not conquest. Yes, Madam President, Elena replied. And one more thing, Martinez continued. I want a message sent to the Dominion Council. Tell them we are willing to negotiate peace, but make it clear that if they attack us again, we will not stop at defending ourselves. We will liberate every world they've enslaved. The Assembly voted. The decision was made. Earth was stepping onto the galactic stage, ready or not. 3 weeks later, Elena stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's first purpose-built battleship. It was twice the size of the Guardian platforms and incorporated both human and captured Valorian technology. Around her, a fleet of 20 ships prepared to jump to the Talax system. All ships report ready. Admiral, said Commander Park, now her second in command. Then let's go make some friends, Elena said. Engage faster than light drive. The stars stretched and twisted as the human fleet jumped across 50 light-years in an instant. When they arrived at Talax, they found a world in chaos. 3 Valorian cruisers orbited the planet, bombarding population centers from space. The Talaxians had declared independence and the Dominion was making an example of them. "Battle stations," Elena ordered. "Target those cruisers. Fire when ready." The human ships opened up with railguns and particle beams. The Valorian cruisers, surprised by the sudden appearance of a human fleet, tried to turn and fight. But they were outmatched. Within minutes, all three were disabled and drifting. On the planet's surface, the Talaxian government sent a desperate transmission. "Human ships, this is Prime Minister Kelthas. Thank the stars you came. Our cities are burning. Our people are dying. This is Admiral Vasquez of the United Earth Fleet. The Valorian ships are neutralized. We're sending aid shuttles with medical supplies and relief workers. Your independence is recognized by Earth." Kelthas's image appeared on the screen. He was a tall, thin being with silver skin and large, dark eyes. "You saved us. Why? What do you want in return?" "An alliance," Elena said honestly. "And a promise that you'll never do to another species what the Dominion did to you. You have our word, Admiral, and our gratitude." As human relief workers descended to Talax, news of the rescue spread across the galaxy. Earth hadn't just defended itself. It had liberated an enslaved world. More messages began arriving from other subjugated species. Pleas for help, offers of intelligence, requests for alliance. In his flagship at Rally Point Gamma, Admiral Krathox received reports of what was happening. The humans weren't waiting. They were actively undermining Dominion control. And with each world they liberated, more species rose up in rebellion. "Sir," said Teclon, "we just received word that the Dominion fleet being assembled to attack Earth has been delayed. Half the ships needed have been redirected to put down rebellions on Dominion worlds." Krathox allowed himself a small smile. The humans were clever. They had turned the Dominion's strength against it. By freeing one world, they had inspired dozens more to fight for freedom. The Empire was fracturing from within. "Send a message to Earth," Krathox said. "Secure channel. I want to speak with this Admiral Vasquez." "Sir, is that wise?" "Wisdom would have been listening to the human surrender offer," Krathox replied bitterly. "Now I want to understand the species that defeated me." The message went out. 6 hours later, Elena's face appeared on Krathox's screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, he could see the bridge of her ship, busy with activity. "Admiral Krathox," she said, "I'm surprised to hear from you." "Admiral Vasquez," Krathox replied carefully, "I am contacting you without my government's knowledge. I need to understand. Why spare my captured crews? Why treat them with medical care and respect? The Dominion would have slaughtered any prisoners." "Because we're not the Dominion," Elena said simply. "We fight when we must. We defend those who can't defend themselves. But we're not monsters. Your soldiers were following orders. They don't deserve to die for their leader's mistakes. And what happens when the next fleet comes? My government is assembling 500 ships, perhaps 1,000. Then we'll fight," Elena said without hesitation. "And we'll win again. But there's another option, Admiral." "What option?" "Peace, real peace. Not the Dominion's peace through conquest, but actual cooperation between equals. Earth doesn't want an empire. We want neighbors, not subjects." Krathox was silent for a long moment. "You're asking me to betray my oath, to work against my own government." 6 months passed like the turning of a great wheel. In that time, the galaxy changed in ways no one could have predicted. On Earth, massive shipyards beyond Neptune worked day and night. Human engineers combined their own technology with insights gained from captured Valorian vessels. The result was a new generation of warships that outmatched anything the Dominion had ever built. 200 vessels took shape in the darkness of space. Railguns capable of firing at 7% light speed, gravitational shields that could deflect any energy weapon, and most importantly, faster than light drives that made human ships twice as fast as Valorian vessels. General Marcus Chen stood in the observation deck of Earth's newest orbital station, watching the construction with tired eyes. He had barely slept in 6 months. Every day brought new challenges, coordinating with alien allies, managing resources, preparing for the war everyone knew was coming. "General," said his aide, "we've received another transmission from the Kelvin Confederation. They're formally requesting to join the coalition." "That makes 47 species now," Chen mused. 47 worlds that have declared independence from the Dominion and asked us for protection. Can we protect them all, sir?" Chen turned to look at the young officer. We have to. If we don't, the Dominion will make examples of them. Billions will die. The fleet is ready, General. Admiral Vasquez reports all ships are operational and crews are trained. Good. Tell her to prepare for deployment. The Valorian fleet will arrive within the week. Elena Vasquez walked through the corridors of the UES Defiance, her flagship. The ship hummed with power around her. She passed crew members who saluted sharply. Young men and women who had volunteered to stand between Earth and annihilation. She felt the weight of their trust like a physical burden. In the officers' mess, she found Commander Park reviewing tactical data. "Sir," he said, standing as she entered. "Intelligence confirms the Valorian fleet has begun moving. 517 ships. They'll arrive at Earth in 4 days." "Only 500? Elena said, sitting down across from him. "They were supposed to send 1,000. "The uprisings are getting worse," Park explained. "Half their fleet is tied up putting down rebellions, and it's not working. The more worlds they attack, the more species join our coalition." Elena pulled up a star map on her datapad. Red dots marked Dominion-controlled systems. Blue dots marked coalition members. 6 months ago, there had been no blue dots. Now they formed a growing cluster around Earth's position. "The Dominion is dying," she said quietly. "Even if they beat us, the Empire is finished. The subjugated species have tasted freedom. They won't go back to being slaves. Do you think Krathox will help us?" Elena thought about the Valorian admiral. They had exchanged several messages over the past 6 months. Careful, guarded conversations about strategy and philosophy and the nature of power. She didn't trust him completely, but she believed he was genuinely conflicted about his loyalty to the Dominion. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I hope so. We could use a friend inside their command structure." 4 days later, the Valorian fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. But something was different this time. The ships didn't advance immediately. They held position as if waiting. On the bridge of the Defiance, Elena studied the sensor readings. 517 contacts confirmed. They're arranged in a defensive formation, not an attack formation. "Why aren't they moving?" Park asked. "Because they're scared," Elena replied. "They know what happened to the last fleet. They're trying to figure out if we have any new surprises." "Do we?" Elena smiled slightly. "A few." She opened a channel to the Valorian flagship. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Force. I'm transmitting this on all frequencies so every ship in your fleet can hear. 6 months ago, you came to conquer us. We destroyed you. You limped home and asked for more ships. Now you're back, and you think larger numbers will make the difference. They won't." On his flagship, Admiral Krathox listened to her words. Around him, his officers shifted nervously. They remembered what happened last time. The planet breaker turning back on them. The moon moving under its own power. The devastating railgun fire. "Admiral Vasquez," Krathox replied, choosing his words carefully. "I am under orders from the Dominion Council to subdue Earth by any means necessary. But I am also a military commander who learns from his mistakes. I propose a meeting. You and I face to face, on neutral ground." Elena's officers looked at her with alarm. "Admiral, it's a trap," said Park. "Maybe," Elena replied. "But maybe it's also a chance to end this without more bloodshed. Prepare a shuttle." "I'm going." "I'm coming with you," Park insisted. "No. You're in command if something happens to me." "That's an order, Commander." 6 hours later, Elena's shuttle docked with a small space station in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It was an abandoned mining facility, neutral territory. She walked through the airlock wearing her dress uniform and carrying a sidearm. Not hidden. She wanted Krathox to see she came prepared but not looking for a fight. The Valorian admiral waited in what had been the station's command center. He was enormous up close, nearly 2.5 meters tall with 4 arms and chitinous armor that seemed to be part of his body. But his eyes looked tired and old. "Admiral Vasquez," he said in perfect English. "Thank you for coming, Admiral Krathox. You asked for this meeting." "I'm listening. I want to know your terms for peace." Elena felt her heartbeat quicken. This was it, the moment that could change everything. Complete withdrawal of Dominion forces from Earth's system. Recognition of the coalition of free worlds as a sovereign entity, and most importantly, an end to conquest. No more subjugation. No more slavery. Species deal with each other as equals. "The Dominion Council will never accept those terms," Krathox said. "Then the Dominion can die." "Your choice, Admiral." Krathox walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "I have served the Empire for 300 years. I have conquered worlds, destroyed civilizations, all in the name of order and unity. But your species showed me something I had forgotten. That strength without wisdom is tyranny. That an empire built on fear will eventually crumble. So what are you saying? I'm saying that I will not fire on Earth. Neither will the 70 ships that escaped your last attack. We remember what you can do. We won't make the same mistake twice. And the rest of your fleet? They are under the command of Admiral Vorsek. He is young and ambitious and believes the Dominion is invincible. He will attack despite my objections. Elena considered this. You're committing treason against your own government. Yes, Krathox said simply. But I would rather be a traitor to a dying empire than a fool who gets thousands more killed for nothing. When the battle begins, my ships will remain neutral. I cannot help you. But I will not harm you either. Thank you, Admiral. That means something. I have one request, Krathox said. When this is over, when the Dominion falls, treat my people fairly. We were not all monsters. Many of us were just soldiers following orders. You have my word. They stood in silence for a moment. Two warriors from different worlds, united by a desire to end the killing. Then Elena returned to her shuttle and flew back to the Defiance. Status? She asked as she stepped onto the bridge. The Valorian fleet is moving, Park reported. 70 ships have broken formation and are holding back. The remaining 447 are advancing on Earth. Battle stations. This is it, people. Send the signal to all coalition forces. Time to show the Dominion what happens when free people fight together. Space around Earth suddenly came alive with activity. The 200 human warships moved into position. But they weren't alone. 47 species had sent ships to help defend Earth. Talaxian cruisers with crystal-based weapons, Kelvin destroyers carrying fusion missiles, Dravian fighters that could operate in dimensions humans barely understood. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of worlds all united against the Dominion, and hidden among the asteroids, on moons throughout the solar system. In secret installations that took 6 months to build, waited humanity's real surprise. Admiral Vorsek, commanding the Valorian attack force, saw the coalition fleet and laughed. They have numbers now, he said to his officers. But numbers mean nothing against superior technology. Prepare the planet breaker. We'll show them what happens to upstarts. Admiral, his sensor officer said nervously. I'm detecting strange energy readings throughout the system. Multiple sources. They're activating something. Activate what? All around the solar system, gravity wells turned on simultaneously. Not the small localized fields humans used in the first battle. These were massive system-spanning nets of artificial gravity that locked every ship in place. The Valorian fleet suddenly couldn't move. They were frozen in space like insects in amber. What is this? Vorsek shouted. Get us free. We can't, sir. The gravitational forces are too strong. Then the human fleet opened fire. Railguns launched tungsten rods at nearly 8% light speed. Particle beams cut through Valorian shields. Missiles with quantum entanglement guidance hit their targets with perfect accuracy. And the coalition ships added their own weapons to the bombardment. But Elena didn't try to destroy the Valorian fleet. She disabled them. Precision shots took out engines and weapons.